This video is going to be about the 2023 CrossFit Games documentary. There's a couple of threads that I want to pull on. And I know I'm using the camera off to the side, so you are just going to have to do, I'll be looking over here, I guess, as well. So it'll be kind of like I'm looking at you and I'm also not looking at you. Thread number one that I want to pull is just kind of something funny, something that I saw pop up. It is right here. This is someone's account of what the 2023 CrossFit Games was. What you're going to see is I've watched all of the docs about each CrossFit Games, and this was by far the worst. And it's interesting because this is what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be reviewing the 2023 documentary, but that what you're going to see is that this is the retroactive. Retroactive. Do you see that? IMDb, Fittest on Earth 2023 retroactive. So that's the year it came out, but it is not about the 2023 CrossFit Games. That, of course, is going to be the one that we are talking about today. If you follow me on Instagram or maybe even on Twitter, because I directed people from Instagram to Twitter, I sat down last night with Alexis, got a new TV for Black Friday, and the first thing that we watched on it was none other than the 2023 CrossFit Games, which, of course, is coming out after the 2024 season. And this is the second thread that I want to pull on. As I said, I have threads that I want to pull on. The first one was that funny thing. This is the second one right here. The CrossFit Games absolutely needs a media team. And then I spoke like a true teenage girl, and I said, like a huge one, like Justin Medeiros, you know, like a huge one. Or they are done for, because I don't swear on YouTube. But other people could swear on my YouTube. I don't swear on my YouTube. This is my friendly reminder, and I want to keep this brief because I know some people don't care to hear this, that CrossFit is a media company that features fitness, and it's not the other way around. CrossFit is a media company, and for the longest time, they had all of these people going everywhere to feature all of these athletes, like the Dave Lipsons, which you will maybe see somewhere on my YouTube channel. Camille, Josh Bridges, Jason Khalipa, you name it. There were people from CrossFit sent to these people. They were grabbing little tidbits of them. They were put together on a highlight reel. They were made to look incredibly cool, and they were very cool, and they are still currently cool. The athletes of 2024, about to be 2025, they are equally as cool, in my opinion. I've spent time with a handful of them. However, a 10-minute straight shot of one athlete is going to be inevitably more boring than a little tidbit from a weekend with one of CrossFit's media personnel from the 2015s. Because they can put together highlight reels. So when you see the old stuff, the old Road to the Game stuff, it's highlight reels. It's highly edited, and it's sometimes mashed up with other athletes. It's almost like the TikTokification of the CrossFit Games, where it's engaging, it's cool, and it's really hard to do that by yourself for anybody. Now imagine being somebody with not the greatest personality because you spent your entire life in the gym. You might be super personable, but you're also kind of tired from working out all the time. It's hard to be cool. Barbell Spin put this up. First comment down there, yet this. Barbell Spin also on Twitter. By the athlete, where do you want to see your media? You want to see by the athlete, 36%, by independent media, that would be myself, or by the CrossFit Games media. This is just evident how much people think that they know about anything. CTP runs the Training Think Tank media channel. They need to be okay with the media going 10 steps back so we can take 100 steps forward, lower the expectations of crispy, clean, super products, slow-mo videos. True, and that's evidently happening, and you can see that in even things such as the CrossFit Games. So this is just my second tidbit. I want to pull on this thread a little bit. The reminder that CrossFit needs a media team. They are a media company that features fitness. Okay, what is this? Where was Lowen? We can totally talk about that too. Best part of the documentary was the shot of you wearing our dual strap. Yes, Lucky Camera straps. And I actually have a mouse pad. I don't know where my mouse pad is, but look, yeah, Lucky Camera straps outfitted me with the dual. I have those. Those are right here. These are my Lucky Camera straps. Dual. My name's on them somewhere. 100,000. See that on there? They stitched that on there for me because that's my YouTube goal. I just put that up on Instagram. The goal is the same. Things are different. But thank you, Lucky Camera straps, for the cool stuff. Those are great straps. I think they custom made those for me as well. Yeah, leather mouse pad. Okay, now, for what you guys are here for, we're here to talk about the CrossFit Games documentary. I think, first of all, that the way some people are. I used to make videos on when Dave was making his weekend review. He would kind of push back on a lot of the stuff that I would make, which is why it was great. He would make things that people would speculate on obvious. So if I said something like the affiliates are paying for this documentary, Dave could say something like, no, that's actually not true. This is entirely self-funded. So this thing that we're about to talk about, guys, this documentary is made by a new crew. It's not made by the crew that made Retroactive, which is what we opened up this video with. And I think the one previous to that as well. This video is made by, I think the director's name is David. And he paid for everything. And Dave said that in his weekend review. So everything that we're about to crap on, if we do crap on it, is we're crapping on someone who put his neck on the line to try to make something cool for everybody. I also think that this dude has made documentaries for the NFL, or maybe it was for ESPN, like some sort of what is the one that Tyson was just in? Hard Knocks? I don't know that for sure. Maybe it's something similar to that, but he's a big guy in this space, and he wanted to make a CrossFit documentary. He's put his own money on the line, and I really view this potentially as something where people can see something like this. Because Alexis and I were sitting there. Alexis is confused by why Katrin is being featured. Well, Alexis forgot that this is the 2023 documentary, not 2024. And that's probably the biggest thing that I need to bring up about this David guy, the guy who put his own money on the line. And Dave self said on the weekend review probably 6, 7, 8 months ago, the affiliates are not paying for this. He's paying for it himself. And CrossFit has since fired the people, Emily O'Hearn and Jonathan Haynes. You remember those pieces of crap? I've made plenty of videos on Jonathan Haynes and Emily O'Hearn. The scum of CrossFit who have freaking ruined this thing, which I said was so important from the beginning of this video. CrossFit's a media company. We need media, and then it's a fitness company. The people who are the reasons this is coming out now are gone. So if the normal entities that be had their will, they would have put this thing out on time. But because Emily O'Hearn and Jonathan Haynes were at the helm, it got pushed way back. I'm currently doing Dave Castro's job. I'm setting the record straight. Laura came here to F stuff up. Now, that was cool. There's been swearing in a couple of the past documentaries, but it didn't come off as cool. It came off as forced. So when Laura said that, and of course, this is the year where there was no Tia, I kind of like that. I like that about Laura. I totally forgot that Justin was potentially the next perennial winner. They present that as like, hey, here's Froning. Hey, here's Fraser. He's won 4, he's won 5, and now Justin's won 2 in a row. Is this going to be the guy that wins 6? And of course, we all see how that ended up. So, guys, I promise you that if you do sit down and watch this, and you have some of maybe even these talking points in your head as you're watching it, you'll be like, wow, this is actually kind of cool. It's cool to watch this retroactively. Ha ha ha. Seeing Justin's family and camp setup was cool in the film because once they do brief Justin a little bit, it looks like the camera crew follows him on over there. You see Papa and Mama Medeiros. I think his sister's in the camper. You kind of see his setup over there as he's starting up the CrossFit Games from that year. Justin doesn't look like the champion we've seen before. I think that was Chase Ingram who had said so. Maybe it was Tommy Marquez. They're doing a voiceover, just something worth saying. And again, because he finished 11th or 13th in that year, it's all stuff that we know. And then it's all stuff where maybe even after a couple of more seasons, you see that he just isn't the same sort of guy. There's something different about him. His physique looks a bit different. He doesn't seem to have the fire in there. And I think I make another tweet about that in a second. Pat, this is just funny again. A lot of this is crazy for these athletes to say in hindsight. Pat was excited to see the new location after Madison. That new location ended up being Dallas-Fort Worth. Early signs are that there will not be the games at Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas. I look for the worst case scenario in everything. Pat, of course, he's talking about like the plate rolling away or his first events and him falling off of the cargo net. But Alexis just says like, oh no, after he said that. And that was just like a funny Alexisism. You probably had to be there for that one. Chair Carswell. No, it's supposed to say Chuck. That auto-corrected. Chuck Carswell is the man. He's the guy who is like the head of the judging staff over there. black dude over there who every single time you see him, he's very demanding, very well spoken, and I always just like seeing Chuck Carswell. Shane Orr's accent is that strong, as if Alexis had never heard him talk before. Who was the 2024 Spirit of the Games Award winner? I don't think that there was one. There was also supposed to be like a team champion, and there was never a team champion. Just something worth remembering. I really did enjoy the event graphics. So as you're watching it, you see that the bike to work, and I don't remember any of the other names of any of these. Maybe it wasn't even bike to work. Bike to work was the Toes to Bar event. Cyclo something, whatever, ride. They just call it ride. As everything pops up, it's kind of cool how the graphics roll across, and that was something done well by the documentary team. Katrin swears. So we already saw that Laura had sworn. Now Katrin's swearing on the screen. I said Chase Ingram is a chunker. Because Chase, I think, went on some sort of a diet after this games. He lost a whole bunch of weight. He looks great present day. And this is what Lucky Camera Straps is talking about. See that? That's me right there wearing those camera straps. There's Justin's donk. Justin's got a caboose on him. And then there's me right there just shooting. Thought that was fun. Oh, I forgot. Shane coached Olivia. And I remember that was something that I was very vocal about at that point in time. Olivia Kerstetter had, for as far as I had known, been with Jacob Hepner forever. And again, after Crash Crucible this year, we heard Jacob Hepner talk up a little bit about these camps and whether or not they are coaching these athletes. And when it comes to Olivia Kerstetter, I was like, Shane isn't coaching her. Proofin isn't coaching her. I think I have another funny ism in here about this. Saw Kristen Colgenbrander, just kind of panned over her. That chick is a Greek goddess. She's freaking yoked, jacked. Jeff Adler's got a crazy neck beard. Something you'll see if you watch the documentary. This is it, guys. Rosa's voiceover on Roman during the pig is not it. This isn't what I meant. This is another thing about Rosa and Roman. I've met Rosa. I really enjoy Rosa. I met Rosa's husband, hockey player, golfer, great family, great guy. But there's been this thing in the CrossFit space where she, from what I've understood, is also Roman's agent, and also she is his translator. And she's been a lot on the field, which is interesting because a lot of the athletes' coaches aren't allowed on the field to bring them stuff such as food and water. And you can see in the documentary that Rose is also bringing Roman food onto the floor, and she's doing that because she's got access to him, which she needs to translate. But when she does translate, it doesn't come across as direct. She's kind of like paraphrasing a lot of the stuff that she says. And this is where I write it. Roman didn't have an exact translation. And maybe you'll remember the Coffee Pods and Wads podcast or Instagram post from maybe 8 to 10 months ago. And Roman was on another podcast, and he was saying some stuff about the likes of Guy not having it between the ears. He said stuff such as other competitors in the space that I don't remember exactly which ones weren't tough enough or couldn't throw a stone at. He was talking crap. And the consensus there is that it's the first time we'd ever really heard him speak straight up Russian on a podcast. And I think Rosa was talking about, Rosa being Roman's translator, was talking about how it wasn't correct. You can't just use a translator. But in this documentary, there's multiple instances where there is a direct translation on the screen, and then there's a paraphrase by the translator. And I actually think I have one of these clipped. Daniel Brandon, I believe, caught some bad feedback. I don't even know. Maybe she was told not to swear when she's being interviewed, but she did swear on ESPN because the thing was being broadcast by ESPN, and the documentary crew left that in. So that's the third instance of swearing that we saw. I really liked hearing Roman's backstory. This is at what appears to be Rosa's house, which is where I think he's staying with her husband. They're playing ping pong, and it was a cool story to hear about how he finally got to the CrossFit Games. If you've been in the space for a bit, you'll know that Roman had quite an issue. He couldn't get a visa. And I think Rosa's not just his translator and potentially also his agent. I don't have confirmation on that, but I have a pretty good idea that she is his agent. And then also she is the reason that he got his visa. So me saying that he's not getting direct translations shouldn't be taken as a negative thing at all. It's just a thing. But she certainly had a huge role in getting him over to compete, giving us Roman Krennikov, which is fantastic. I still hate that they were calling them events because they are still they're calling them tests. Stop trying to make tests happen. That's just never going to happen. They fixed it. I think they started calling them events again, but they were calling them tests in this documentary. So far, this is short-lived, guys. So far, the best part of this documentary is the lack of Tia Toomey. And that's because, if you remember watching the other documentaries, Retroactive, Next Gen, which also is kind of ironic, the whole Next Gen thing, because it ended up being, oh, here's the likes of Mal O'Brien, the next generation. And then you get to this documentary, and it's all about the same old faces. So the Next Gen thing was just kind of not so much a Next Gen thing. But when it comes to this tweet, the best part of it at this point, which was maybe 20, 30 minutes in, not that much Tia, but that was short-lived. Alexis, Noah was talking about how tough it is to be a CrossFit Games competitor. And Alexis just goes, oh, boo-hoo. And I think sometimes she forgot this is what I was doing. I'm like, Alexis, anything you basically say, I'm just going to tweet it. So it was kind of funny. Oh, boo-hoo, it's so hard to be a CrossFit Games competitor. Oh, and then before this thing leaves, I got to tell you. So she said that, oh, boo-hoo. And then I'll probably bring this up again, but afterwards we started watching the 2014 documentary, which is on Netflix. It's just 2014 games on YouTube. So if you YouTube 2014 games, you can find it. And upon finishing the 2023 documentary, Alexis said that she kind of felt depressed, which is what you get a little bit from that Noah sentiment. Oh, boo-hoo, it's so hard. And then we're 15 minutes into watching 2014, and Alexis goes, I just want to work out. And granted, it's like 9:30, 10 at night. Workout. So that ended up happening. But it's the biggest difference between the way that maybe the athletes are or they're being presented in this documentary versus the older ones. Some are inspiring. I want to win the games. None of the athletes want to win the games anymore. Actually, I think Justin Medeiros says he doesn't care to win the games anymore. Let's see if I can find that. Spoke too soon. There it is. There's Tia. Why is she there? She legit didn't even compete this year. What is Tia Toomey doing on the screen? I don't know. We don't know, but it isn't the last time you're going to see her. I said this. I'm starting to think that Shane coached Olivia, and I probably spelled his name wrong. There's probably no Y in Shane Orr. I'm starting to think that Shane coached Olivia just to get into the documentary, because whenever Shane Orr is on the screen, he would have no reason to be there if not for the inscription on the screen, which says Olivia Kerstedter's coach. Chandler Smith in 2023 gets a ton of love in the CrossFit Games documentary. He's one of the featured athletes there. Chandler Smith in 2025 quits CrossFit. Wants nothing to do with CrossFit. What are the comments on this? The CrossFit community is incredibly judgmental, which is extremely ironic. Yeah, because everyone cares so much about the 2023 doc now. Yeah, I opened this thing telling you guys why it's coming out now. It's not anything other than the people they fired. The CrossFit Games and the CrossFit company has fired the reason that this thing is coming out at this point in time. Check this thing out. I thought this was funny. Go Dave Hippensteel. Let's freaking go Hippensteel. I was like, what the hell is this all about? Get this thing off my screen. I just said WTF. Freaking, is Dave even at the, oh, he was at the CrossFit Games this year, right? The Masters in 2024 was somewhere else. In 2023, he was still there. 2022 is the year he got taken out. This, guys, is the reason that anybody should spend $20 on this documentary. There's 185 people watching right now. If all of you guys want to spend your freaking, maybe it's $14.99, spend $14.99. This is worth its weight in gold. Daniel Brandon talking in the ice bath with Torres shows why she got a new coach in 2024. And this is so a lot of people are talking a whole bunch of crap, and I think I may even be included about why it's being released so late. But now that you see some of the things that have drawn out, some of the stories that have panned out, such as this one, like Danielle Brandon's working with Coach L, and she's no longer working with Matt Torres. She was with Matt Torres after she was with Justin Kotler over at Underdogs. And she has this scene in the ice bath where I think her exact words, and again, this is why you can go watch it and see what her exact words were, I don't feel as if I was prepared for this. And it's very likely that she just didn't like how she did at the CrossFit Games. I think there's speculation, or maybe she is or was with Matt Torres as in a relationship, not just a coach, but also in a relationship with. And like, you can't have that. It's something where like, what are you going to do? Are you going to be the person who tells you what you got to hear, tells you what you got to do? And also, is she ever going to trust that person with their workload? Because if she's saying, I'm not prepared for this, like it's probably all in the best that she's now working with another coach, and that coach is Coach L. Regardless of what Taylor Self has to say about him. Going into day 3, talk from Boz, the athletes, and the music is great and compelling. Yes, so leading into this thing, you hear a lot from Bosman, who is heavily handed. I think he wrote and programmed the games this year. It's been so on and off and different that now I'm becoming a little fuzzy, but I think he's the one who wrote the workouts this year. So you got Boz giving his insight. The athletes are talking a little bit, and the music just kind of makes you draw a line along. You're kind of really into it. Pat Vellner's a hairy dude. Every time I see him, I just think, damn, you must be warm. All that hair on you. Jeff Adler sees the future talking on the bike scene. He's sitting there next to Roman, and he goes, hey, you started off hot. You're going to fall off. I started off slow. I'm going to finish strong. And it's like he's predicting the future there. You'll see that. Alexis. This is why Alexis is great, guys. He speaks. I thought his wife speaks for him. Alexis on Jeff Adler. Because like, how often do you ever hear Jeff Adler talk? He's featured quite a bit in this, where it's just a talking head. It's him sitting there. And generally, whenever you see or hear Adler talk, it's either followed up with or led with Carolyn Lambre saying something for him. So Alexis is like, wow, I've never heard him talk. And he talks quite a bit in this. Why did Annie get an entire off-site shoot in what appears to be Iceland? CTP. Unless it was freelanced out, looks like an easy write-off for vacay. Not happening if she was in Little Rock. So is that Arkansas? Little Rock, Arkansas? Annie had this entire like thing where it looks like she's in Iceland, and just thinking, what? Well, I guess Roman appeared to be in what looks like Rosa's house, which might be an Airbnb. I don't know. And maybe that was near Madison, and it just looked like Iceland for Annie, but it was just something that I thought about. Annie, I'm going to swear. That was funny. And that's the thing about this, guys. A lot of the swearing kind of seemed, again, I use the word compelling when it came to the music. It was good. And you can tell that this guy, David, the director, has done this before. He's pretty good at creating these documentaries. Now, I think that the cards he was dealt were crappy cards. Like what Noah, the Noah thing. Oh, it's so hard to be a CrossFit Games athlete, as Alexis so fondly stated. And then like, what's this guy supposed to do with this? Probably cut it. I would probably cut that. Oh, there it is. Tia plugging motherhood, because how could you go an entire CrossFit Games documentary without hearing how Tia's a mom? This scene was cool. You see Annie hanging out with her kid, playing in between events and getting physical therapy. So there's just this guy working on her in the middle of the games. So that was cool to see. It's not really something you see all that much. I like how the 2022, I talked about this already, how the 2022 doc was called Next Gen. and now at the end of this game, it's like Laura wins, and there's Brent, there's Vellner, there's Tia. It's all the same faces. There's no Next Gen. There was never a Next Gen. Emma Lawson talks. This is also, so guys, I talked about Daniel Brandon and how that scene in the bathtub was worth its weight in gold. This one probably as well. And I know Emma Lawson got her podcast out right now, and you probably hear some stuff about similar things to this. Emma Lawson talks about 2023 doubts and about herself, along with the pressure that she felt to do well. So she thinks she's going to the game. She wants to do really well. And then she talks about the doubts she had in relation to that. She ended up finishing second that year, and they follow her around a little bit. Michelle Letendre is cool at AF. Something I thought about in one of her scenes. I don't remember exactly which one at this moment. Roman running past the box and skipping it is even more ridiculous when you remember that everything is set up in the order for you to complete it. And you remember on the down to that shipper with the box jump overs and the rower and all that, Roman just ran past it, and Vellner ended up winning that event. And Roman running right past it's like, dude, what were you thinking? And then they show Vellner, and I'm just thinking, he is so hairy. There's a back and forth during that event where they're showing Pat's wife and the chatter between like what she's thinking, how she perceives it, what's going on. And I thought that was great. It was good. I liked it when they were talking. I wonder if I'll have audio on this. This is the translation. I'm going to hear this. Tell me if you can hear this. If you cannot, that's going to be an issue. Now let's jack up my audio over here too. So what you'll see is can I just make that big? Yeah. There will be subtitles here with what Roman's saying because it transcribes it when he's speaking Russian. And then Rose is going to say something else. This is the most ridiculous thing of all time. Watch what Roman says and then see how Rosa translates it. He forgot there was 21. It was just a mistake on his part, is what Rosa says. All right, and what Roman said is, yes, I forgot about it. I didn't pay attention and ran on to the rowing. So at no point does he say the words 21, which is something big. And you guys might go, oh, Andrew, those are intricacies, and she's translating. The thing that you'll also realize is that there's other instances in here where it's a direct translation. Things such as the words 21 aren't pulled out of thin air and stuck into it for the sake of having a certain spin on it. So what she says here is not the same. And you'll see multiple instances of this where there will be one time where she says it directly, and then there's various times where it's indirect. And sometimes it doesn't even have anything to do with what he said. That one is one of the closest ones of that. And I wanted you guys to see that. What do you guys think about that? Dang, probably not at all in relation to what I'm talking about. I thought this was funny. There's a scene in there where Bickle is like showing his face. Bickle's the guy out of Eric Hinman land out in Colorado. He works out of that gym. Big dude, lost a bunch of weight, really good on the assault bike is Matthew Bickle, friends with Chandler Smith, coached him at the games. And a whole lot of people were like, what? He's not a coach. Matthew Bickle, but then you see Bickle in the crowd like throwing up numbers and stuff, and Chandler is actually listening to those numbers, and I think he was relaying the numbers of other competitors on the floor and what he had to do to get to finish. And I'm just thinking, damn, Matthew Bickle actually ended up coaching Chandler more than Shane had anything to do with what Olivia did. Freaking ridiculous. And also, on note of Chandler, he says, Roman was as dominant as we have ever seen anybody, and that was maybe through the first half of the competition, day 3 exactly at that point. And that's simply not true. Like, it was a ridiculous take by Chandler. It's like, do you not remember how dominant Fraser was? Didn't he win all but 2 events at the 2020 games? Like, Roman was nowhere near that level of dominance. As dominant as we have ever seen it. Yeah, he was having a good games, but it was like, I don't know, Matt Fraser of 2016 level of good, or a Rich Froning of 2013 level of good, which was very good, but it was also obviously able to be surpassed by Jeff Adler. Irrelevant of the injury. This is something that was funny. And again, in hindsight, in 2023, I'm supposed to say in 2023, not on. Katrin is glad to be able to compete on the floor with her best friend. And this is something she says during the snatch event with Annie right over there. And then the year is 2024. Annie, I say they both quit. Katrin, I'm so happy to be on the competition floor with my best friend. Quits with Annie. Quits. Annie's on the PFAA. I can't imagine anybody who sits behind or endorses the PFAA the way that they would be as Annie had would be competing in the next season. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I know the PFAA says they support anybody doing anything, which means that they support nothing. When you support everything, you support nothing. You stand for nothing. PFAA, you stand for nothing when you do that. But anyway, whether or not, whatever that means, if I were somebody on the PFAA, I would imagine that means that I'm not going to support the things that go against the PFAA, such as having Castro aboard. So if you are on the PFAA, you are not a CrossFit Games competitor any longer. You stand by the things that the PFAA wants, which isn't Castro. That's how you stand for something. So that's when I say they both quit. Annie, in theory, with my logic, has quit. And of course, Katrin has quit. She is retired. Probably because she got fake boobs, which is fine as well. And she's probably not going to be able to finish in the top 10 anymore. Alexis, where the F is Emma Carey? Just a random thought by Alexis. And then like maybe 1 minute later, she goes, oh yeah, God. Alexis is also super religious. Look at this one. Laura Horvath is my favorite CrossFitter. Kind of looks like Laura, doesn't it? This thing by Jess. Poland is greater than Hungary. Who's from Poland? Jeff? I don't know who's from Poland. But I tell you what, guys, this documentary does a lot of good for Laura. And in the land of people standing up for things and not standing up for things, like Laura is somebody who kind of puts her stick in the ground. And I like that about her. And she seems very cool throughout this documentary. And yeah, she might be my favorite woman athlete. Oh, Gabby's from Poland. Gabby. Got it. Okay. Athletes showing up. Yeah, this is cool. So they just kind of had a steady shot of the athletes walking in, maybe to day 4, and it might have been day 3, where they're just kind of saying hi to the guards, and the guards are all happy. They're like, hey, what's up, dude? Go get it. It was kind of a very cool, they are the show, and they're also like admired as superheroes, it was a very cool thing that they threw in right there. And then Roman's my favorite male CrossFitter. Seriously? Hell yeah, dude. Roman's the bomb. How can you not like Roman? Here you go. If you saw the Mayhem Games doc on Breakable, I think that's got 400,000 so views on the CrossFit Games or CrossFit Mayhem YouTube channel. You can't help but be an instant fan. Yeah. Anybody who listens to Roman or knows what he stands for or just knows how cool he is, you can't help but like Roman. Roman's super cool. Tommy said something right before Roman blew out his foot. I don't know if that was edited in there, but it seems like it was like a bad herring, a bad omen. He jinxed him. There's a scene in here, and this is my third one of these. So I think I talked about the Daniel Brandon tub scene with Torres. I talked about the is it the other Emma scene? Was that the other one I talked about, or it's worth its weight? Because now this is the third one, and Tia actually becomes incredibly pivotal to this. It's cool because only Tia can do this for somebody like Emma, as somebody who is as powerful as Tia has been and also not competing. She kind of approaches her after she loses her lead at one point and gives her some words of wisdom. Now, it's not personally my thing, but for most seeing it, and probably especially for Emma in that moment, it was really good. And it was a great add to that video. So of these 3 instances, I'm saying that's probably 3 or 4 minutes of time. You're spending $15 for 3 or 4 minutes of really cool stuff that you wouldn't have seen anywhere else. And that's up to you if you want to spend your money on it. Rose's translation of Roman during the injury is off. So there's another one. Roman Krennikov is the bomb. Just another one. Yep. I said that this is overkill. Is a bit overkill. The Roman one-legged workout scene, which you may remember, with the sled pull and the double unders, where he's trying to do everything he can to continue competing, is very overkill. And when I say it's sarcasm, I don't mean that in the sense that it's not overkill. It's like way, way too much. It's way too much. And like, I get it that it's a documentary and you're really looking for the most emotional stuff. And it was without doubt the most emotional part of the games, but it's just overblown. The music and the scenes and people's perspectives and what it meant. It's like, oh gosh, it was a lot. I mean, it was good, but it was way too much. This one's funny. Again, in hindsight, Tia says, it really shows where Olivia can go next year. Alexis, she didn't even make it last year. And she said it like a freaking wall hit you. You're like running down the street and Alexis hit you with the, Olivia didn't even make it. Great comment, Tia. Let's see what Olivia can do next year. Doesn't make it. It was funny. That spot on the podium, I talked about this earlier in the video, Justin Medeiros. This is very much like what I was talking about when it came to Noah. And Alexis goes, oh, boo-hoo, it's so hard to be a CrossFitter. Justin says, and I put it in quotes because it's direct, that spot on the podium might not matter as much in reality. And I don't remember when he says it, but it is in the documentary. And you're thinking, what? We went from people who would do anything they could just to make it to the CrossFit Games for a chance to look at the floor. And then we have the guy who won multiple times and he's trying to tell people who might be trying to beat him are like, well, it just doesn't matter. And it's like, well, no, hell, you don't win anymore. This is what's going on between your ears. That's why you're going to get beaten by freaking 10 other guys this year. and however many ever guys every other time you ever lose. Like, you can't say that stuff. Chandler Smith's voice is so deep. With the amount that Tia was in this, where was Matt Fraser? Because, yeah, Tia wasn't competing. And the anecdotes that Tia was giving were decent, because Tia is saying stuff such as, it takes this to be a champion, but then she gets into the motherhood thing. And I guess that kind of goes along with Annie. And it was kind of tasteful, but it still is questionable about why someone who isn't competing in this year is so strongly featured. And if she is, then where's the requisite dominant male champion? He should have had like a line. Maybe he wasn't anywhere to be seen. If I were Laura, I would despise hearing the Tia comment on me winning the games from the box seats, like she was patting her on the head. Laura despises everything, says Katie. Laura and Christoph. At first, I did not know I was your diary. I've never seen this movie. I don't know what's going on. That's Fat Amy, isn't it? But anyway, Tia has this, it's not condescending, but I can imagine Laura would hear it in a way where it's incredibly condescending. It's like, oh, nice job. And she's patting her on the head. Oh, you'll never beat me. Nice job. CrossFit, I mentioned, this is the one I started off the episode with. This was funny. Nicole was talking to the athletes at one point towards the back end of the film, and Alexis goes, I'm convinced that she's being held against her will. Like she didn't want to be there or something. Oh, here you go. Inevitably, she helped cause this. And Nicole Carroll resigns. Geez, you flooding X. Yeah, I said, Craig. I said I was going to be tweeting my thoughts. Alexis is one of my favorites. What a cool chick, and down to earth and not pretentious. I don't think that's sarcasm. I don't think she's pretentious. Here we go. In quotations by Tommy Marquez. The 2023 CrossFit Games will be a shoot. I hate when I'm typing on my phone and trying to rattle off things really quick while watching a documentary, and it's not direct. The 2023 CrossFit Games will be the beginning of a new era. Tommy Marquez, something of a new era. Yeah, that didn't age well. Tommy is wrong again. Yeah, that was what I was getting at. I just don't know what the exact quote was, so it's not exact, but it is something like that. Oh, this is a new thread. And I kind of realized that this is what I should have done. All right, so before I get into this, I'm going to go through the comments a bit, see what you guys had to say. There you go. Remembered as the beginning of a new era. Thank you, Jared. Yes, remembered. If this is a preview of the Binge Bros reviews, woof. How dare you? How dare you? I don't think so. NJSB Construction. The Roman leg workout live was too over the top, but he is a good dude. You mean live as in at the games? I don't know. I was on the floor. I don't think I ever watched it. I think you're using coach too loosely in relation to Shane and Olivia, because I don't think so. New England, I don't like it. Yeah, it's just a different computer monitor. And I figured I'd be looking over here half the time anyway. So, yeah, I know I wrote it. But I was in the middle of also watching the documentary. So here's Alexis started doing CrossFit, and this is supposed to be like an Alexis featured thing, right? So Alexis started CrossFit in 2015, and she had never seen the 2014 on YouTube documentary. So I thought that it would be interesting for us to go from the 2023 doc back almost a decade, and I just started playing the 2013 documentary for her. And I shared a couple of those thoughts as well. Where do they start? Oh, this is it. Here we go. We started watching the 2014 doc right after. We're 22 minutes in, and we still haven't even started the games. Isn't that nuts? Because, guys, I don't know if you've realized this, but the past couple of years of documentaries, it's not a documentary. It's a recapumentary. All you're doing is it's like, oh, event 1, oh, event 2, oh, event 3, oh, event 4. It's like, oh, let me just jump off this bridge because I know exactly what happened already, and like how exciting can this really be in all reality? But then when you go back and you watch 2014 and even like 17 and 18, when they were doing the road to the games, they would plug in stuff of Tia in her garage getting coached by Shane during the bike and burpee box jump over, and stuff of Ben Smith doing this, that, and whatever, and stuff of Katrin David's daughter working out over in Iceland with Annie Thor's daughter who had brought her into the sport. And you're getting a whole bunch of backstory into what happened outside. And at 22 minutes into this, they hadn't even mentioned the games. They were just talking to Josh Bridges. Jason Khalipa's got a barbell on his back for 3 minutes, and he's talking about what it means to go to the games. And and guys, I tell you what, I think it was an hour. I didn't actually end up saying anything, but it ended up being an hour until they were even there. 2014 documentaries forever unmatched. I'll stand by that, Chet. To be fair, nowadays, non-CrossFitters are not buying these docs. So who is buying them? Who's buying the documentaries? I want to hear about Ariel. Okay, I did say I would talk about that. From what I gather, they choose a handful of people before any of this even starts because they want as much footage as possible of people who are going to have compelling storylines. So they chose, I can probably rattle these off the top of my head, or I can look at the IMDb listed list, but it's like Justin, it's Chandler, it's Pat Vellner, it's Jeff Adler, it's Laura, it's Tia for some freaking reason, like I keep saying. It's Olivia Kerstetter, which is interesting. It's like Chandler and Olivia Kerstetter are interesting. Why would they choose Chandler and Olivia Kerstetter? I mean, nobody thought that they were going to win. Maybe Olivia's the young chick and Chandler's the most jacked dude. I don't know. Maybe they thought they'd make for good video. Then who am I missing? Justin, Pat, whomever. But they didn't choose Ariel. And they didn't choose Ariel because I don't think many people saw her doing as well as she did. And I've been about as critical as possible when it comes to the past couple of years where it's like the Tia show. Tia. And it's like, yeah, it's pretty freaking annoying that you're never going to mention who won this workout. But they aren't making them for us, Grant, keeping it real. They're not making it so that people know who won what or who the fittest American woman was, which was Ariel Lowen, who finished third overall that year. They're making them to like have a certain storyline. And if you remember the original CrossFit documentary, which was the one with John Wellborn featured quite a bit, along with the weightlifting guy, Greg Everett, and what the hell, Every Second Counts, that documentary, like he finished freaking 40th, John Wellborn, but they were following him around and they don't talk at all about who finished third or fourth or fifth, right? And that would be Ariel Lowen in this instance. So it's just the style in which they were making the documentary. And it's unfortunate because Ariel Lowen is probably a great story and we all love Ariel Lowen. But here's the thought that I had. The women's physiques have improved far more than the men's. After having watched 2023, after having seen a lot of these people every single day of my life making the natty aeronauts and whatnot, the women of 2013 look completely different than the women of 2024. And the men, I would say, arguably look maybe slightly better, but entirely different versus slightly better is crazy. It's crazy how much different the chicks look when comparing them to how much different or not different the dudes look. In 2014, everyone wanted to win. Now most are afraid to say it. Well, that's why I like Bill Leahy so much, because Bill Leahy puts his stake in the ground, like Laura. Like, I'm going to win the CrossFit Games. I want to be the fittest on earth. Present day, just here to show up. I want to have fun. It's like, fuck your fun. What? You want to see something someone sent me today? This is good. You guys are going to like this. This might be the last thing I pull up on the screen. I got to make sure I don't show you who sent it to me because it might get this person in trouble. And now people who have sent me stuff are like, oh my God, who sent what? And this person's probably themselves thinking, don't show them. How do I get this on a different tab so their name isn't featured? Nice. I did it. Okay. Now nobody knows where I got this from, but it is funny. I feel like Sevon now. Live call-in show.
Guys, we need our athletes. About how athletes need to have good mental health. And I want everyone to have great mental health, but not athletes. Guys, we need our athletes to be total psychos. You know what I'm saying? That? You know what I call an athlete with good mental health? An assistant coach is what I call him. What documentary did we all watch about basketball during COVID. Last Dance, correct. Did Michael Jordan seem mentally healthy to you in the slightest? Giant mansion, one chair. Here's what we learned during The Last Dance. We learned that Michael Jordan's hobby was basketball, but his passion was revenge. It's what fueled him. It's what fuels all the greats, like settling scores and holding grudges. I was at a restaurant recently, and some little kid was crying, and his dad was like, son, just to remember, the most important thing in life is to never take anything personally. And I slid it and was like, unless you want to be the greatest basketball player who ever lived. So if you want to make $150 million every year in passive income off a picture of you jumping from 1985, and even just based on the silhouette of you jumping, we can tell what an absolute sociopath you are. And we want that in our shirt and our shoes, and Mexican dudes want on the back of their pickup trucks for some reason. No one knows why. Right side of the glass, white Jordan logo. Let the anthropologists figure it out, guys. No one knows. ESPN's always carrying on about how athletes need to have good mental health. And I want everyone to have great mental health, but not athletes.
I want to replay that first part one more time. Not athletes. Not athletes. And we certainly don't want to see it in the thing that's packaging it all up and making it pretty for everybody to look at in a documentary like the CrossFit Games documentary. So somebody sent me that today. Like that better, Ortega? Does that make you happy, Ortega? I don't like this angle, so I changed it. I got two camera angles. But anyway, the biggest difference between maybe the ones that we like the most and the current documentaries, and you'll catch this if you watch it, which I do think people should watch it. Because like I said, the guy who made it put his neck out there. I'm going to make the CrossFit Games documentary. Yeah, there should be a binge, bros. I'm kind of waiting on Sevon. What do you guys think? I wish I could create polls. I don't have a Caleb. I don't have the ability to do it, but you're such a people pleaser. I know. Thanks. Yeah, Jonathan. What's up, Sarah? Do you think that it does anyone any good to be talking about how you're more? This is my biggest thing about like Ben Bergeron. And maybe this is the downfall of Katrin that I've always thought about. The downfall being she won 2015, 2016, and then where did she go? Like, is Ben Bergeron even a good coach, or did he happen to catch lightning in a bottle with Fraser and with David's daughter? And someone just brought it up. Maybe it was like Chase the other day, or maybe it was Barbell Spin the other day. The comp train program was really the first one that you could get into with someone's name attached to it. And Ben Bergeron just happened to be the guy to like catch lightning in a bottle. It's like everyone wants to do what Fraser and Katrin and all of them are doing. And then he says stuff such as, my top moment of the games was Cole Sager winning Spirit of the Games. Like, you freaking pussy. What? Like, that's your top moment of the game, not your horse, your main stallion Fraser winning. You know, the Michael Jordan, that the correlate to what we just brought up right there. The guy who clearly has mental health issues, Matt Fraser, right? He creates these novels in his head the same way. And I mean that in the nicest and best way possible. This isn't me talking crap about Matt Fraser. This is me saying, thank you, Matt Fraser, for giving us arguably the best 5 years of CrossFit ever. Everyone thinks it's Froning, but there are people who also think it's Fraser. Thank you for giving us that, you psychopath. Thank you. And also, what is going on this year with Noah Olsen? Oh, it's so hard, says Alexis. Justin Medeiros, oh, there's more to life than winning again. And is it that you're just saying that because you're in 30th place after 2 events? Are you only saying that because life is different and you've got a girlfriend and now things are different? Is that what's going on? Because that's how it seems to us. And for anybody who has anything to say about any of my statements, it is just what it seems. So it is weird when Rosa has different statements than the ones directly translated from Roman, as they're also right next to other statements where they are word for word. Some coaches are the guy who can take talented teams or people and order them to be great. Others develop that. There are different types of coaches. Yeah, and we've determined that Bergeron cannot develop crap. but he can potentially direct greatness. Is that what we're saying? Olsen is way too nice. Probably a serial killer. No, I don't think so. I think he's actually just nice. Oh, Ben was Rudy from Outlaw, but didn't get arrested for hitting women or stealing money. I saw something once about Lucas Parker in an affiliate. Not Luke Parker from Mayhem. They're different. But all right, closing notes. Number 1, I have to remember to ask people to subscribe to this thing. So if you're one of the 219 here watching right now and you're not a subscriber by chance, press the freaking subscribe button. Because the sooner I get to 100,000, the sooner I have to stop asking people to do that. Number 2, CrossFit is a media company. Started this thing off saying it. I need to remind people of that so they stop thinking that it's a fitness company, because anybody anywhere can do it, but it's how you package it. And when there's people out there like the Liver King who can convince you of stuff if you have enough money to push it via cameras, then you understand that like also you're just pushing burpees for a specific audience of people. And that's the media company aspect of it. Third, while CrossFit's a media company, they did not fund via Dave Castro's weekend review from like 8 months ago this thing. So if you don't watch it, you're punishing a guy who put his neck out there he was trying to help CrossFit, this David dude. So I spent my $15. I gave you guys 3 or 4, if not more, depending on who you are and what you're into, talking points that you can now like look for. They're like Easter eggs. I've given you Easter eggs. Lucky camera straps. When I hit my 100,000K, I can get a new strap with $1 million on it. That'd be sick. I got 2 years to do that. That's the plan. Thank you for being here. Go watch the documentary. It's worth it, although 2014 is better.